were to say to you, pick a used German luxury sports sedan for around $30,000, you'd probably say E90 M3. But what about this? This is an Audi B8 S4. It has 333 horsepower, all-wheel drive, and DSG transmission. It's really quick, but can it compete with the M3 or maybe even best it? Today we're going to find out.
I've always wondered why the M3 has so much more press coverage than the S4. I mean, just Google the two and the M3 has nearly triple the results. Is the M3 that much better of a car? After having owned an E90 M3, I had to drive an S4 to find out.
All right, so let's go back to our original segment. We were talking about a German luxury sports sedan. Let's just break it down one by one. First, we're going to start with the sport part because this is an enthusiast show, and obviously that's what we do. So we'll go with numbers first. 333 horsepower from a supercharged six-cylinder. It's a really good engine. I like it a lot. The power band is, I'll say, broad, because of the supercharger. Everything from 2,000 RPM to 7,000 RPM, we have torque, which is really nice. And that's in contrast to the M3, which is a high revving 8-cylinder, which is fun. However, for daily driving, I really prefer the torque that you get from this supercharged 6. So it has plenty of power to move. It's got to be comparable to M3. I think the M3 might be a little quicker in a drag race, but this car is certainly no slouch. So we've talked about the engine. Let's talk about the transmission. So this has the DSG automatic transmission, and it's really quick. I'm not the biggest fan of automatic transmissions, but if you're going to have one, you might as well have a good one. This car has the optional sport differential, and if you're in the market for this car and you're an enthusiast, it is an absolute must. Drive one without and drive one with, and you'll totally know what I'm talking about. The sport diff it feels like it's rotating the car, and you can definitely feel it in hard cornering. If you drive a standard car, you'll know what I'm saying. The standard car just understeers like crazy, whereas with the sport diff, it really helps rotate the car. And overall, there's just a lot of grip to be had here. I mean, it's all-wheel drive, so you would kind of expect that, but it handles pretty well. The steering it's firm, so that's nice, but it doesn't offer a ton of feedback. I would say I often don't really know what the front tires are doing, but it's not the worst rack I've ever felt. One thing that I'm really impressed with this car is the seating position. I can get the seat exactly where I want it, and I'm sitting really low in the car, which I like. I'm not the tallest guy ever, but I'm 6'1", and I really hate when my head is really close to the ceiling, or I just feel really high and more on top of the car than in the car. And in this car, I'm definitely low. I can get the steering wheel where I want it, and it's just overall kind of a surprise. I didn't expect it, especially given this car is based on the A4. So how about the German part of the equation? Well, this car feels solid. It has that traditional feel to it that you get from a German car. Everything's very solid. The materials are quite nice. And, you know, the one thing that I always think about, or that I think is really apparent in German cars, is how they deal with the highway. And this car, like all German cars, does really well. And this one specifically just annihilates the highway. I mean, you cover so much ground so quickly, and it doesn't even really feel like it, to be honest. But this car is fun to hustle. You got the paddle shifters here, and what I'll say is it's deceivingly quick. And a lot of German cars are like that because they're relatively quiet and very refined and very smooth. Especially with this transmission, everything is very smooth. And you get going really quickly in a hurry. What's funny is the speedometer goes to 200, which is obviously optimistic. But when you have a speedometer that goes to 200, when you're only doing 60, it feels like you're crawling because the speedometer hasn't moved at all. So it can get you in some trouble, definitely. Finally, we have the luxury piece with this car. And, you know, I'll start with the materials and especially the seating. I think my friend said it best when he summed it up, talking about these Nappa leather seats, which are an option for this car. He said that it's like sitting on an expensive purse, and it really is. These seats are really nice, soft leather, and it smells great. It still smells like quality leather in here, and this car is, you know, 5 years old. I'm pretty impressed with the ride quality, especially given that this is on 19s, but it's very composed all the time. And while it is stiff enough for you to have fun when you're on some twisty roads, it doesn't beat you up just on daily driving. And these are some pretty bad Ohio roads, and the car just stays composed. Another thing you'll want to consider when you talk about luxury cars is, how does it make you feel? What kind of presence does it have? And there's a lot of nice touches on this car. You know, it was kind of Audi was the first one to do these kind of LED running lights. And now everyone has done it. Hell, you can get a Ford Fiesta with LED running lights. But the way Audi does it and the fact that they were the first is really nice. You know, you're approaching your car and you press the key fob and the LED lights come on. You know, it's just like little touches like that which are really cool. I'm gonna go out on the limb here. I know I'm gonna catch a lot of flack for this on the internet. A lot of fanboys are gonna be upset about this, but I'm gonna say, if you can only have one car and you live in an area where there's inclement weather at all, this is a better car than the M3. Certainly, the M3 will be better on the track. And if you have a lot of money and it can be your second car and all those things, buy the M3, sure. But only one car, buy this car. There's a couple of reasons that I think this. Number one is, while the V8 is fantastic in the M3, it's got a lot of theater to it, all that jazz, but it doesn't have the low-end torque that this car has. I really prefer the torque of this supercharged 6-cylinder in daily driving scenarios. In the M3, you find yourself shifting a lot. The next reason is what I alluded to before, the whole inclement weather thing. I've driven this with these are just all-season tires, high-performance all-season tires. I've driven this in a lot of snow, and it has no issues. It's a beast in the snow. It's really good. I tried to drive my M3 in the snow and it was a disaster. Fortunately, I didn't wreck it, but I damn near came close. So that's another contributing factor. And then the third and final reason is you gotta think about fuel economy too. This car has 7 gears and it cruises really well on the highway. I never got above 20 miles to the gallon in my M3. Just never happened. And I frequently get it all the time in this car. It's probably not the best selling point for a sports car, but it's another thing you have to consider. And for all those reasons, I think that this is a better all-around car.
The reality of the situation is this. The sooner you come to terms that you won't be drifting every corner like Chris Harris, the better. Destroying $800 worth of tires and racking up points on your license wouldn't be the smartest of moves. So while dynamics of the M3 may be a touch better, the real-world practicality and accessibility of speed is why the S4 ultimately wins out.